All right, welcome back to the Board Drill Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. With us tonight is my co-host, Matt. He is actually on a slight delay, so if you notice something awkward with Matt tonight, apparently he's like 4 seconds behind us, so have fun making fun of him. His life is in disarray, but he is getting married next week, so congratulations to Matt. We're excited. I can't wait to show up and embarrass him at his wedding. But in the meantime, tonight, we have a special guest, Coach Will Cockerill, who is the defensive coordinator from Denton Ryan High School. Coach, welcome to the Board Drill.
Appreciate it, Gavin.
Matt's going to have the late clap. There we go. So, Coach, we're excited to have you on. I'd love to tell you you're the first Texas coach because we like to check off boxes, but you're not, but we're super excited.
Okay.
As we said, if you're out there listening, if you happen to be a Texas coach, me and Matt just want to give our appreciation to you guys. You guys have actually surpassed our home state of Florida as our #1 listener base. So we're behind you. We're big fans of Texas. So if you guys want to come on the podcast later, let us know. Coach, go ahead and share.
One of our, oh, sorry. I shouldn't
go ahead, Matt.
Anything.
Go ahead,
actually,
Matt.
One of our first coaches was a Texas coach. One of our first podcasts was a Texas coach.
Yeah, Matt Laux. Yeah. So, Coach, go ahead and share your presentation. While he's doing that, make sure you subscribe to us on Twitter. We're at Board Drill. We're on TikTok, getting pretty popular, and as well, we're also on www.boarddrill.com, where we write articles every week. We usually release 2 articles every week, plus our podcast. Real easy. You get everything straight to your inbox from there. Without further ado, here's Coach. I'm going to turn it over to him. He's got his presentation. Let's roll.
Yeah, can y'all see this?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, like Matt said, this is, and I guess Kyle, this is year 15 for me, teaching and coaching in football. I've been blessed to be at some really good places, including Denton Ryan. It's a special place to be at. And so let me get to this. This past season, we had a really good year. And some of the guys in Texas know we actually had a coach pass away week 5 or 6 in the season. And so having to deal with that, and he was the defensive coordinator. Part of the reason I'm at Denton Ryan now was because I wanted to come and be with him. And so managing all that and those emotions and the adversity, the kids did an amazing job of finishing. We went to the state semifinalists this year, finished with the number 3 run defense in 5A and the number 5 scoring defense in 5A. And so that it was just kind of a season that was unbelievably tough. And those kids responded and fought through it like no other. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, it seems like one of those bittersweet teams. I can't imagine. Obviously, me and Matt have had a coaching colleague that passed away, but not during the season. That has to be incredibly, incredibly tough.
No, it was something I had never been a part of it, and so it was kind of uncharted waters. But the rest of the coaching staff and the kids and community all came together, and it was special to be able to go that far with that group of kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is really what Denton Ryan defense is all about, as far as the culture. And actually, the coach that passed away helped start this Sons of Ryan, and it started up front with the D-line group, because that's where we put some of our most athletic kids. If you're a dude for us, you're probably going to play at some point up front on the D-line, and we'll make it work with everything on the second and third level. And that Sons of Ryan kind of started as their position group thing and grew to the entire defensive side of the football. So now it's about playing defense. Now you're a Son of Ryan, and then grew to kind of the rest of the football team, even our offensive guys.
That is awesome. Awesome flag and logo. I love that.
Yeah. We got shirts with the logos that we give the kids, and it's just, it's part of that. You're part of something bigger than yourself. And so that's really, this entire season embodied that and coming together as a family. This is our defensive staff. And I got to hire one late addition, Coach Barrera there. But these guys are the ones that really made it such a smooth transition. They kind of looked around and said, all right, well, Coach Cockerill, I guess you're running practice. And just kind of hit the ground running. So I've got 2 guys up front with the defensive line, a linebackers coach, a safeties, and a corners coach. So that's big time. I've been at places that only have one DB guy. And then this is kind of the extra body. And so we're going to treat him like a defensive analyst. And he's going to help with our scouting reports over the weekend. And a lot of this efficiency stuff will be on his plate throughout the week. And so he's going to be a really young coach, just got into it, but is really eager to learn and is doing a real nice job. But these guys are the ones that make it go. They kind of, the way we describe it, they're the head coach of their position. So that, they keep track of grades, they pick kids up, make sure they're at practice, make sure they're staying after in the weight room. I mean, they're the ones that really, truly are boots on the ground, making it run smooth. These are our defensive goals. As we kind of go into efficiency, these are the ones that I kind of go back to and look at. And so I got away from points per game. I got away from like under 100 yards rushing per game. We played a flexbone team and shut them down mostly on their offensive side. And you still look up and it's like 140 yards rushing. And so you feel like you lost that goal.
Yeah.
And so I just went to stop rate. How many possessions do we have? How many times did we stop them? And then as far as rush yards per carry and pass yards per attempt. And then the havoc rate has been really big at, hey, this is why we're doing this blitz game. This is why we're showing this coverage, and getting the kids to buy into that. And then always explosive plays. I mean, if you limit those, especially high school football, it's going to be
correct.
And so that's what I look at, and that's what I talk to kids about at our team meeting. There are those specific goals. And that's what we did.
Matt, do you have a question real quick? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Havoc rate, Coach. Can you kind of define for our listeners how you calculate that?
For you offensive guys.
For us offensive idiots.
We're going to look at sacks, interceptions, pass breakups, quarterback knockdowns, tackle for losses, basically any negative play that we're able to get the offense into. And so we take a percentage of how many snaps did we produce a negative play versus how many snaps do we have total defensive for that game. And that's how you get that percent. So the goal is 20%. We want to be 20 or more, and we finished at 29% over 15 games. And so staying with the stop rate, that was 77% over 15 games, and the rest of those, we got some work to do in the pass yards per attempt, but the rest of them we're pretty happy with. So that's the havoc rate, and I'll kind of show you how we break that down too.
Oh, okay.
So this would be an example of what I show the kids when they come in for that next defensive meeting. So this is week 10. We played the game Friday night. We're unique. We don't bring our kids in over the weekend. But they have jobs and they have things that they need to do and be kids. And so as a staff, we work remotely on Saturday and then all together on Sunday. And we'll bring the kids in Monday morning for their first meeting for the next opponent. So I will start with this so that I can real quick cover this last opponent. And that's all we really talk about. Hey, you stopped him 83% of the time. That's the rush yards per carry. That's the pass yards per attempt. There were 2 explosive plays. We'll probably show it to them. Kind of 2 or 3 clips of good clips, 2 or 3 bad ones. And so that's what they get. And then we break it down by down for them. So if you want to be really good on third down on defense, it starts on first and second down. And so to get the kids to buy into that, as like this down has a history and life of its own, we want 3 yards or less on first down. And that was their stats. They were less than half, so that not very good. Second down was about 68%. And then you get to third down, and that's the big money down. And the sideline erupts, and we give money, giant man seal money signal, and get some chants going. And so just getting them to understand it's not about a big play. It's about leading up to those big plays and creating even more of those. And then that's that Havoc Rate coming back in to play. So those are the goals I look at. I stopped looking at, under 100 yards or under 200 yards passing, or how many less than 10 first downs and that kind of stuff. And I just kind of zoned in on those, and that's what we actually talk to the kids about.
And so, and I think that's important.
Yeah.
Adapting with offenses and everything, right? There's so many, it's the hurry up offense, like you said, or you're playing a wing T offense and all these things. And some of the stats can get skewed if you're worried about those really, the old school, right? Under 100 yards rushing, under, 150 pass, whatever you want to call it. And I like exactly what you're talking about. Like, let's look at efficiency. Let's talk a little bit about that. And then let's look at the Havoc Rate, and then let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've played through the gamut. Last year we played a flexbone team, and then 2 weeks later it's spread, wide splits, receivers on the tick marks, go as fast as you can go. And so from week to week, you'll see multiple schemes. And so really it's just about stopping what they do best. And that's how you play really, really good defense. So these are the actual efficiency columns that we have. And so I've built these into Huddle. And really it's just a yes or a no. And so as you're typing in all the game data, you can go back and type in, you can group all of the first downs together and then go through and did they get less than 3? Yes, no, and go from there. And then on the right there, you see the stop rate and the Havoc Rate come into play. This isn't broken down, so I will sort by all of the first downs. P and 10 is a separate category for me when I start breaking down an opponent, like the first play of their possession. I'd put that separately than all the other first downs. And so I'll just go down the line, yes or no, in the efficiency, and then you get a percentage based on that. And so it's the same thing. Second down, there's the efficiency right there. And these are just random games that I went back and just took a screenshot of. And then here's the third down. And so you just sort by down, and you're able to see kind of how your kids are doing. And then also when you're breaking down the opponent, you can see, all right, well, these guys really struggled on second down this last game. So let's go see what the other team did to them on second down to create that. And so that's been really big for us to kind of zone in on some weaknesses that we can take advantage of. Here's the Havoc Rate, kind of how I explained it. Forced fumble, any takeaway, any sack, any shift that we did defensively that caused a false start at a critical time, that's a Havoc play. And so getting those kids to really, hey, I want to get on that Havoc board. Like I want to up this. Go on that. We'll put their pictures up on the wall, and it's a big deal to see who can cause the most havoc during a defensive game. So that's been really big for us. And this is actually really where the money is. So it's great to have your down efficiency and to see kind of how you did. But as far as self-scouting, these are all of our D-line movements over on the right, sorted by their efficiency by down. And so you can kind of go down from down and look at gain loss. I called move 19 times and we gave up a total of 2 yards on first down. And so I need to be calling that more.
Yeah.
And then you look at the ones that are negative and it's like, well, we spent a lot of time on twist. I only really called it 3 times and it wasn't very efficient. So how about we just stop practicing that? Or I need to practice it more and actually call it more in the games.
Correct.
And so you're able to kind of zone in on what you're calling in the game and what's actually working. And so that's really where it is. These are all of our kind of self-scouting stuff from the season. And so you got all the D-line movements, the percent called and what their efficiency rate was. And then you break down your blitz game too. And so you can see, the type of pressure we're bringing and what was really efficient versus not. Like that very first one, 5-man pressure, 75% of the time it worked. And so but 6-man pressure worked, 81% of the time.
Yeah.
Is it worth having that guy in the middle of the field, or should we send the extra rusher? You can kind of see where that goes. So that's really the money of all the self-scouting stuff.
Yeah, this is one of those where I go back and I think coaches do this every year. And, I had a pressure that I went back at the end of the year and it's like, hey, I feel like we ran this pressure a good, decent amount of time. It's like, man, this pressure hit like a 92% thing. Like, why the hell didn't I call that more? Like,
Yeah,
what am I doing?
Yeah.
And we called it.
Hit that week to week.
Yeah. And we called it 20 times.
Back at it in the off season thinking, man, I screwed that up.
Yeah, and you're sitting there, you're like, well, I called it 20 times and we really didn't install till week 3. It felt like we ran it a lot, but it's like, well, if that's effective, we should have probably ran it 30 or 40 times. What are we doing?
So that's kind of our
Coach
efficiency stuff. Yeah.
So do you, obviously after each game, you do the self-scouting and the totals and in, whoever whatever you call it, your defensive analyst or whatever has this kind of sitting waiting for you guys on Sunday?
Yeah. So we will Friday night, typically after the game, you're going to type in, your defensive calls and the hash, down distance, play type, all that's typed in throughout the game. So that stuff is already done by the time you get back into the locker room and your field house. And so really it's typing in the calls. And then as you're grading the film, we'll grade the film at some point Saturday and send to me and our head coach and the kids their feedback. That's when you can kind of get hand in hand. Once you've graded it, all right, now let's go back and grade how the defense did. So yeah, that's Friday night to Saturday morning. You can filter and see how efficient that was. Yeah, and that's kind of the efficiency stuff. It was a really big part of what we did in our playoff run. Just kind of honing in on, we've got limited practice time. We want to keep these kids fresh. It's been a long season. What do we really need to work versus what am I calling in the game in this situation? And what downs are critical, making sure those kids have some awareness of that in the game, in the moment.
Yeah, no, Coach, I love that, right? That's one of the things looking back at it, I wish I would have done more of. We did it a little bit, but I wish I would have done it weekly. Like you said, we always kind of did it on the bye week, went back, looked at it, made some adjustments. But having that week to week, I think, is just super valuable.
Yeah.
And it always comes down to a time thing, right? In Florida, we have a little bit less coaches and things of that nature. I remember most of the time I was breaking it down completely on my own, but no excuses. I should have done this a little more, right? So
Well,
Matt's probably sitting there saying the same thing.
Before Huddle was around, you had to download the film onto your laptop and, to drive halfway to the other opponent and trade hard drives. And, now you've got the technology at your fingertips to where it could be pretty instant. You could be typing stuff in during the game, and that's less you got to do afterwards. And so that's been, like I said, and really that's why I limited the amount of goals we had and the big goal board. I just want to zone in on a few things, and that frees up some more time to look at that efficiency stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. Matt?
Coach, do you share any of these efficiencies with the players, or is that just kept between the coaches?
We share our own efficiency from the previous game. And so we will tell them, hey, look, first down, we only got them 3 or less yards 48% of the time. Like, that's not good enough. So when you attack the field and we break from the sideline, like it needs to be in your head right now. Like we're about to go attack mode to get 3 yards or less. And so just breaking it down, hopefully they get the idea that it's about these 4 to 6 seconds after that ball snap, and then that play's over. And now I'm thinking second down, I got to limit them to less than half of what they need for third down in order for coach to call this neat twist game for pass rush.
Do you show any of the efficiencies of the blitzes, the individual blitzes with the players?
No, we didn't necessarily do that. We shared that between the coaches. With the players, we would just share the down efficiency and then the havoc rate. And so that was big. They kind of assume havoc rate is because I dialed up a blitz and it hit, but it might just be a jet on 2nd and 8 in a pass rush situation, and you ghosted the tackle and got a big time sack. I mean, that's just as much of a havoc than anything I'm going to dial up on the end. And so we would just go downs efficiency and then the havoc rate.
Love it. All right. So kind of moving over to blitz game here now, Coach.
Yeah. So we're, like I said earlier, we're base 4-2-5 defense, and Denton Ryan has always been a 4-2-5 and will forever be a 4-2-5. We've played some really good defense, even before I was around. And so anybody connected to the Ryan program and that family, this is kind of where it starts, up front, and then we kind of go from there. So because we're in a 4-2-5, our changeup is to get into some odd looks, whether that's a stack or a bear front, and kind of go from there. And really, our blitz game morphed the second half of the season where we would call a base 4-down blitz, but we could show a stack and bring the same blitz. And so it's 2 completely different fronts. The O-line's got an ID, but for our kids, it's not a whole lot of teaching.
Yeah, same path, right?
Yeah. And so it's like, hey, this is the same. You just start in this alignment. And so there's a lot of same as with some of this stuff. And so I've got some cut-ups. This is what we share with the kids. And so we'll put this on huddle with some teach tape. And that way they have it on their phones. They can take a screenshot of it. It can play in our locker room TVs. So this is theirs, right? And so we'll say, hey, this is what it looks like to 1 back, 2x2. This is what you should be doing. This is what it looks like to 2 back. Trying to show base as much as we can. And so we'll give the players this to look at, and then we'll tag some film with it. And so this is it, week 2 of this past season. Just creeping up. He's full sliding one way, and we're getting a free rusher on the backside. And so
is that your free right there? Walking up and then putting his butt in a 3-point stance?
Yeah, he's not supposed to do that. He mistimed the snap. So the indicator all week had been a clap. Yeah. This is actually our weak safety, because we declared the back end to the most receivers.
Yeah, sorry. I call my weak safety my free. That's why I was saying that. Yeah.
So that's him. And really what happens is if this corner split is too wide, he'll pass the blitz to the free. If it's a normal split, we'll let the corner go just so we can keep a 2-eye shell. So yeah, this was that same exact blitz that we drew up for the kids. Let's see, same thing here. So this is one of our district games a couple weeks later. You know, they check, we're checking back, staying in it. We're able to adjust. So if they stack backs, we will come off on the blitz. So this linebacker and this safety are basically playing in and out on those two guys.
Yeah.
So they, you know, this left tackle probably should have went out to the overhang, but there you go. So Havoc play right there. So same thing. So this is actually goal line. This is second round of the playoffs. So this is our Mike and our Will. So that's the Will. This is the Mike. And we let our blitzers be blitzers, and cover guys, you go cover the dots. And so these are actually corner, safety in the box, and we let the two linebackers go off the edge because it's inside the 5. And so for the kids, it's the same blitz. We just tagged a different coverage to where those linebackers know, okay, we're the ones going off the edge, and now our DBs are DBs. And they go cover. Same thing here. Linebackers are off the edge, and we're playing our stack. So this is a tight end and a running back. So these two guys are playing in and out on that. So this is a big time fourth down stop in the second round. But it's the same blitz they've been doing all year. And so it's the linebackers going instead of the DB. Let's see. So here it is this spring. So we're just starting our spring ball phase. And so this is skills at the beginning of April, right? The end of March. Just walking through his t-shirt and shorts. You know, there's not a whole lot of blocking up front, but it's, hey, get to the gap and get to where you need to be.
It's got to be the cleanest drone footage I've ever seen right there.
Yeah. No, well, like I said, Ryan's a special place. So it's, you know, we got all these ones that we can play with during practice.
Coach, I fly drones for a living. I mean, that may be cleaner than my drone I use to photograph golf courses.
I'm not a big technology guy, so I don't even know what kind of drone it is. My biggest worry is, did they get the corners in the frame or not? So this is the same exact blitz, but it's from a stack look. And so this is a D tackle that is creeping up. He was our defensive MVP this last season. But it's the same blitz for everybody else.
Matt, you guys used to do something similar with the J kid, didn't you?
Yeah. We had a kid that was just a super athlete that we used as a 3 technique, and we'd try to do some similar stuff with them, you know.
Yeah, that's it right there. And so
just gives a different look.
Yeah, like I said, our O-line coach probably hates me because he's over here thinking we're a 4-2-5 and we'll line up and cover up the center. And so he's thinking 3-2 now or stack. So this is off of that blitz to get a little bit heavier. And so the ends, we call them UPSing. Use the tackle, peel on the back, or check for screen. And so we've got a twist inside. Mike is blitzing the B gap to the side of the back. Rover and Will, y'all are still running rough path. And so this is actually really good for us. 7 personnel. We faced a lot of max protect 3-man routes. And so this was a way for us to burn those tackles blocks and still get some pressure. So same thing out of trips open. And again, this is what we send to the kids so that they kind of get an idea. So this is that same pressure, but now the ends are a lot softer and you're getting your mic through the B gap. Same thing here. This is, you know, we don't get there, but we affect the quarterback enough to where, you know, cover 0 is not as expensive when you're sending 6. And so this is actually week 6 that we're running it here. Same thing. So you're just burning those blocks up front by your ends, kind of UPSing those tackles.
You guys see some big O lines.
Yeah. No, we we're really good, but our district is also really good. So we actually played 2 of our district opponents twice. Once during our district play, and then
Jeez.
again round 3 and round 4, just to get to round 5. So it's it's a competitive district. Same thing. So when you're thinking like this is 3rd and 15, I don't want the quarterback to sit in the pocket, but I know it's a heavy screen down and it's ball in the middle of the field. This is the benefit of tagging off with that D end. So this is number 8, that D end at the top. He's just sifting through it. Bag didn't peel, so now I'm looking for screen. And you can get him in on the play. And so we called this is actually a lot more in the passing situations than we did in anything else. Gonna try to get to some of the odd film we got. All right, so this is Stack Storm. Same exact blitz, but now that defensive tackle is standing up, and he's still getting to the A gap. The ends are doing the exact same thing. The other defensive tackle is doing the exact same thing, but you get like a little middle twist with 2 guys off the edge. And so this was the changeup. O-line's thinking now he's calling stack. They're protecting it a little different, and we're able to get some free runners. Right, so they end up pulling both guard and tackle because it's an odd front, and we get our best player up front a free run through just following the hip with those guys.
Yeah, that weak B gap's always the best when people are trying to run GT.
Yeah, so it was a really good change up for us. Let's see. Same thing. Kids didn't have to learn any new pressure or anything. We just changed the window dressing to get what we wanted. I'll go to another one. So this was actually the same team we played week 6 in the round 3 of the playoffs. Same type of pressure. And 14 is going to be at Memphis next year. He's a special kid. But when the quarterback's affected in his pass drop, you're not as scared. This is Alito. I don't even know how many state championships. And we were able to knock them off in round 4. But just standing up that defensive tackle and creeping them down caused some havoc there for them. And so that's a critical moment in the last drive, 4th quarter, play 130 of the game. It's raining, it's nasty, and we're able to back them up. All right, here's another one. So this is getting to a bear. We drop our best pass rusher down off one edge and slide our front the other way. And so, it's not a whole lot on us, but it gets a true bear for some teams that have been working a 4-2 all week.
Yeah.
And so it was a really good change up for us, creating one-on-ones up front with our best players. And so this is a sophomore, number 13, that played some significant snaps for us. And hey, you're high and wide off the edge. Don't let anything get outside. It's an easy way to get some guys on the field with less teaching. This is
it's very similar to like basically the penny look, right? You're getting into that 5-1 cover 1 look basically, and working it.
So this boundary D end is standing up, right? Still a pass rusher. This is our will linebacker to the field. He's at TCU right now. And so he was a special kid out in space and one of our better blitzers. And this is in the state semifinals. It goes from empty, and they hop that back into one back, still able to bring the blitz and get a free hitter off the edge. So again,
let me see the back shot of this one.
Yeah.
You guys hitting magic here? Oh, you are hitting magic, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
That little 3-man twist in the middle.
Yeah.
Coach, the pressure I was talking to you about,
Uh-huh.
that hit like 90-something% of the time, that's it right there. Magic.
There you go. Yeah, it was good to us. And so we kind of knew it. You're creating one-on-ones, right? A lot of
Yeah.
teams are just big on big. And so any twist game from that look is usually pretty good.
Yeah, and like you said, if that tackle, he ends up coming down there, but if he kicks to the wide guy, your wrapper just comes untouched every time.
Yeah. So this was probably one of our best go-tos as far as changing the front and showing something else. This is the man-free stuff. Same thing here. So we started moving to it. So we started showing our four-man front and pre-snap doing a full line shift and dropping a backer down. And so that was the wrinkle to getting into this look. So this is 4th and 1. Right? Offense is going for it. So minus 44. And we shift the front and drop a backer down and get a flex. So now it's 6 and they're going to punt.
Yeah, and everyone wants it right. You know, obviously Georgia does this a lot, and everyone wants to get into it. But I like the fact that, like you said, like make it simple, make it two things. Like you said, hey, and we shift to, you know, our 5-man bear look where we bring our will down. Like, hey, let's do it during cadence or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm guessing you don't have 100 different move calls. You probably have a few, right? And,
no, we
that's
have a
the big
few,
thing.
and really a lot of them were just 4-man front to 4-man front, changing the techniques up front. We did not have anything that was even to odd. And so when we put this in, that was a huge benefit of getting a completely different front pre-snap off of a quarterback indicator. The same thing right here, right? This left end forgets to move, right? Sometimes that happens. But because it's 3rd and 6 right now. So you just went from 3rd and manageable to 3rd and 11.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was big time. And then we ended up getting some free rushers off the edge. And so same exact thing, right? This is a sophomore linebacker that was behind the TCU kid. So limited reps throughout the week, limited game reps. But this was something he could do because it was just the same as the 5-man pressure. And so we were able to cause a lot of havoc with that. And then it's the same thing here. They've actually got, if we were to line up in our bear, this is a good play. Fly sweep to that, right? Get out on the edge. But because we shifted from an even to an odd, that running back thinks that's a DN. So we're able to meet him in the back. So if we were to just line up in the bear, that's probably a good play call. But because we shifted to and messed up with some of their rules, it ended up working out good for us.
That is awesome, Coach. I love those shifts and those movements by the defensive front. It creates such a mental game for the offensive line, running backs, like you said. It becomes so difficult for them.
Well, and now the rules in Texas, at least, it started limiting the amount of pre-snap movement we can do up front.
Of course.
Yeah, so the only advantage we did have is starting to get taken away. And so one of the ways to counter that is to full slide the line one way and drop a guy, because now it's all moving in unison.
Yeah.
It's not a kid switching his hand real fast at the snap or anything like that. And so it's one of those loopholes that was really good for us. And so we will definitely find some different ways to get to that. So the same thing here, 4-2, right? Easy blitz, bringing Mike and Will through, tagging on the center. And we're showing man free. So it looks like it's man free, but we're dropping that safety down over the back.
Yeah.
And able to get a free hitter.
This is that staple, right? I think everybody, right? We had it too. We kind of did it. We did it slightly different the way you did it, but kind of same style thing. We love to pick on that center right there.
Same thing, right? It gets your D line into some jet mode. They're not playing the run anymore. Now they're jetting up the field. and you're adding one more that they can't block into the box.
Yeah, I just remember my biggest teaching point on this was when you got a puller was teaching those linebackers to read out of their cross if they needed to, if there's a pull, right? If it's power or counter or something.
We've got our Mike picking, and Will is the late addition to where if he gets sprint out away from him, he's not going to blitz it.
Yeah, that was always hard because you'd work with the kid all week about reading it out, and then the kid would, he'd get the read, and then he'd just hit A gap anyways. I'm like, what were you thinking? And he's like, I'm not, coach. I was thinking I want to go get a sack. And I'm like, well, that's great. They just ran power for 22.
Yeah. So this is round 1 of the playoffs. And so they obviously know this is coming, right? And so the guard blocks down, and so our defensive MVP is unblocked, matched up with the running back. So either way, it's a win. Same thing, right? And showing it late, right? Now, this is one of the negatives also, is you're shooting him through the A gap, but if he's going out of control, right, they could hit a crease. That had twins unblocked, ready to hit him, but out of control. So the benefit of spinning down that safety to cover up that crease. But this is the way we kind of window dress it again. So now instead of creeping them up from depth, we're going to start them out mugged up. It's the double A gap mug that everybody knows, right? These are actually our backups late in the game. Same exact pressure, right? The D-line did not learn anything new. The back end did not learn anything new. Now it's just starting the linebackers in a different spot. So we're able to get them flush. Another change up. So we've shown so many double A gap stuff. We've been sending it. Now these guys are UPSing the center.
Yeah.
The same technique we taught the ends. Now they're tagging the center, and they've got quarterback, running back spying for screens.
Yeah, so you basically just turn this into one rat at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, Coach, quick question. I don't mean to back you up. Can you back up a couple real quick? Back to your 6-man. So what are your rules for, right? You have a guy on the wing here, right? The tight end, whatever you call it, the H or the Y here. Yep. If he blocks, do you tell your guy to add on? Is he hug rush and adding on? How do you teach that?
We haven't. He's reading him, so his eyes are on him, right? That's a man key. We haven't added him into the blitz. We've got another one where we can loop him to the A gap, but that's real expensive, and we don't do that very often. Just for the kids' sake, we just keep him hovering on that dot.
Okay, yeah.
So if he blocks, he's now our run support player.
Gotcha, yeah.
And then the same thing here, if these backs were stacked right here, then these two would be playing basically in and out.
Okay, yeah.
So same as that 6-man pressure from before. So it kind of keeps it in the same family.
Yeah, we just try to figure out what people do there. We ran a lot of these kind of same as you, but we were definitely a big ad team. I'd look at that kid, be like, if that running back blocks somebody, you better be right up his butt, ready to sack. I said, it's your chance to get a free sack. And we got pretty good at it to the point where when we ran that pressure, a lot of times our nickel would take the back and we'd kind of move the safeties around. Yeah. But our nickel, I remember the one year had like 5 sacks off just tracing the back when the back picked someone up and falling right through and taking the court. He just looked at me. He's like, I love this pressure, coach. I'm not even in it. And I get sacks. I'm like, just take the free sack, man.
Yeah. And so this is the same thing, except now we're showing in the double B gap. And so people know we're so aggressive up front, and we're really good up front. We've got a lot of really talented kids. And so this is the first offensive play of the game, trying to set a screen up. And so we'll get a lot of screens. We'll get a lot of tight end check releases. And so they've seen this pressure before, but now we got 2 hunting down the screen. So it was a really nice change up for us to all the other pressure looks. And it's the same pressure. We just told the kids, hey, this week y'all are showing in the B gaps.
Just ruthless coming out in a 6-up on first down, first play of the game. Yeah. It's like, screw you, offense. Here we go.
Yeah. Same thing here.
And the offense had to feel good about having the screen called on that. Hey, they're walked up, they're coming.
It's P&10. You're probably thinking
Rip their
pace.
hearts out.
Same thing. They're checking because they're thinking, all right, they're sending everybody, so we're checking to bubble slant, but we're just hovering, creating some quarterback spots. And so 21 sitting right in that slant window. He's one of the
57.
Lost.
Why are we running the ball? What are we doing?
And that's one of the
He's
things.
confused.
So I don't ask a whole lot of input as far as like data input over the weekend from our coaches, because I feel like sometimes you'll just input and you're not actually watching the game. And so I really try to hone them on who is their worst offensive lineman up front. And give me a look at their stances. Is that tackle's heel on the ground in passing situations? Is it up in run situations? And so they're honed in on finding weak spots to try to attack. And so that's one of the reasons why we showed in the B gap this week, is because we felt like we could attack those guards. And so that our D line coaches are really good at finding who the weak link is and trying to put some of our best kids over them and stress them out. So this is Alito again. Great program, really good. We happen to be in the right call at the right time. So this is double A gap. The Will's always the adjuster. And so the mic stays in and still tags the center. And he's just sitting right there for a quarterback draw.
Yeah.
And so, that's how we would adjust to like bolting out the back or motion him. So that's what I got, guys. I'll stop sharing this. But
No, Coach, I love it. The efficiency stuff I think is such a huge deal. And, I do encourage coaches out there. It's a really important piece of the season. It's one of those things where, again, I look back on it with like, when I go back to coaching, but that's one thing we need to do more. Yeah. And I encourage coaches out there, just track that stuff during the season. And like you said, simplify it to 3 or 4 things that are important to you and go track those 3 or 4 things. It's easy enough, like you said, to do downs 1 through 4 and yes or no, boom. And then huddle, you hit the filter button. It'll tell you your percentage of success.
Yeah. And that was really what it is. Everybody is doing something similar during their bye week or off-season study, but that's a year too late.
Correct. So, yeah, you're right.
To get it in the moment, and hey, we have some issues on second down. Let's look at the defense we've called and try to get it fixed for the next week.
Yeah, between you and Dan Gonzalez, I got a definitely new look at how I'm going to do some things going into a game and then after a game. I don't know if you saw the Axums episode we did, but it's really, really good offensively, but can be applied defensively even better.
But those are the ones I'm listening to try to figure out the new ways they're trying to beat us.
Yeah.
And so
his is really good on that, but no, I love it. And obviously, look, the pressure stuff, I'm the right guy you're talking to here. I've been a 4-2 guy my entire career. Everyone's always like, oh, odd this, odd that. I'm like, I like having the 4th guy up there. I like combating 11 personnel better, all that good stuff. And some people kind of refer to me as a little old school on that, and I'm good with it. But Coach, it's a lot of stuff I've done throughout my career. I love it. So it was good stuff. Matt, do you want to, I guess I'll do it. You're on a lag. So Coach, we ask everyone the same question when they come on our podcast. All right. It has nothing to do with football, or it could. What is the most unique or different thing that your program does that nobody else in the country may do?
Wow. Okay. So I studied up just for this question because I went back and looked at some podcasts.
We used to be able to catch coaches on this, and now coaches are getting smart. They're like, well, no, I was ready for this one. I'm like, okay.
Well, I don't want to be surprised with like, what's my favorite meal on Saturday morning or something like that. I think what's unique about Ryan, I talked about not bringing the kids in on Saturdays. Our coaches also work remotely on Saturdays. And so that's a little bit unique, but even more than that, during the summer, we give our kids the month of July off. And so they are with us 4 days a week for 4 weeks in June. And so that is 16 workouts. that we are going hunting them down and putting them through some grueling stuff. And we have to win 16 games to win a state championship. And so the kids need a break from us, and they need time to go be kids. And coaches need a break from trying to hunt down the kids. And so that is completely unique to anywhere else I've been at. Is you want to go on vacation, plan it in July. You're good. The weight room will always be open, but there are no organized workouts where we're going to go hunt kids down.
Yeah, no,
You
that's
need a break. You need to go away from the game. That way, they're excited still when they come for fall camp. I think that's one of the most unique things that I've seen. It's just
yeah, that's even unique for outside the state of Texas because right in Florida, you said the Saturday thing. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm watching college football on Saturday. Like I'll have my laptop and I'm breaking down games, but normally I'm watching my Seminoles. Not right now. Now I probably would have been a great year to come in on Saturdays for me, but the whole month of July, right? We used to take the last week of June, first week of July off, so we would give them those 2 weeks because you have July 4th and all that. But yeah, I've never heard of taking off the entire month of July. But look, there's merit to it, and you can't really, you guys were hanging out in the third or fourth round of the playoffs, and so it's working for you. So no one can, people want to knock on it. Who cares what they think? It's working for you guys. So I love
think it definitely is unique. Yeah, and it probably won't work everywhere, but we've got kids that have real life problems and maybe have to contribute to their families, so they're working more hours, and so. I think a lot of people are on the Saturday trend as far as working remotely.
Yeah.
With the huddle and all that stuff. I don't think that's anything groundbreaking, but giving that buffer between coach and kid in July, a little bit of a breather. Now they want to come back and they're excited about it. It's not with all the 7-on-7 stuff going on year round, and these kids need to go be kids.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Coach.
A little bit, and so football will still be here when they get back.
Love it.
That's definitely unique for us.
Yeah, no, that's unique all around the country. I can almost guarantee you that's unique. Well, I love it, Coach. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. For me and for Matt and the board drill, we appreciate you coming on. We appreciate the great state of Texas joining in and having fun with us. And we will catch up with you later on down the season, Coach. Good luck.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a good one.